Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the podcast. Today, I would like to review once more the fundamental and deep importance of conscious breathing to foster and nurture a sense of being aware of our breathing. And why is that so important? This past weekend, I was very fortunate. I went to go see Eckhart Tolle in person. He was doing a talk in Ottawa, and got to see him with my brother, and it was a really nice evening. And one thing that he's mentioned many times throughout his teachings, his spiritual teachings in his life, is this idea, and I'm paraphrasing here, but that we are never more ourselves than when we are still. We are never more ourselves than when we are still within. And it's as much as we can hear this intellectually, to truly live it is certainly, I think, something that we're called to do that is challenging, but certainly has a beautiful aspect to reveal itself, that when we can just be still more often, just be kind of quiet within, it allows life to flourish in a different way. We're so caught up in the constant sort of mental chatter, this sense of seeing ourselves as this person that has to navigate through life this way and that way, and got to think about this and think about that. And it's this constant hamster wheel going on, that if we can just pause, that's truly what we really are, is that still kind of awareness of just seeing this moment as it is, of just being here now. And so the breath is an extremely valuable tool in order to help us return to moments of stillness. Now, sometimes people can get intimidated by the word stillness or inner quiet, as if like, well, that's my mind's going all the time. I can't stop. That's just how it is. I think all the time. That's how it is. But so we're not talking about sort of like decades of meditation practice or monks that can sit there and be still for long periods of time. This podcast is really about sort of more common folks, that what the kind of lives that we share, that going through different challenges in life, being busy, navigating different situations and relationships, and so on and so forth. And how do we bring well-being to that? How do we bring a certain spiritual dimension to ordinary everyday life in a way that is realistic and achievable for most people? And I'm just going to return to the breath, because it is so simple that and easy to overlook. And sometimes it's like, well, yeah, I hear what you're saying, but not for me. But it's just right there. The breath is always there for you. So most of the time, obviously, we're breathing all the time, or else we'd be dead. So what's so special about breathing? But it's a point of focus. It's a point of awareness where we can just be with our breath and just feel it and just give a few moments of pause. And in my experience, everybody can learn to pause the mind just for a few moments. If your mind starts to go again, it's fine. It's not about this sort of perfect mental stillness, but to invite regular moments of stillness. So just a few fundamental things to discuss about breathing. One of the episodes we did earlier on in the series was breathing stillness, to just focus on the nostrils and just try to not think and take 2 deep breaths. So that's one thing. There's other methods, box breathing, different styles of breathing techniques that we can do that have been taught. But today I just want to give an overview of just principles of a good, proper, focused breathing, and how it can truly, in addition to creating mental stillness, just being quiet, the benefits of that is the activation of what we call our parasympathetic nervous system. So the nervous system that is activated when we're digesting properly, when we feel relaxed, when our immune system is able to do its job even better. And then the sympathetic nervous system, the one that is more, known as the fight or flight part of our system, which makes us able to react with immense energy to certain situations. It's like certain types of, something that there's danger, we either fight or we flight, like we run. So it kind of activates our system very much. And part of the challenge in modern society is that we have so much going on in our heads that so many things are perceived as a fight or flight situation, like this new unexpected maybe bill, like if, money thing happens, like, oh, it's like a fight or flight situation, even though it's not. Everything's fine. There's lots of food in the fridge and there's a warm house over your head. But we see, or we hear about somebody spoke ill of us at the workplace, or there's just so many sort of normal, very common situations that can happen in our mind that we interpret it also almost as a danger, even though there's no danger. You're going to eat well. You've got medicine if you get sick. You've got a warm bed. You've got central heating. Like everything is fine. So part of the work that we are called to apply ourselves to is to kind of bring down this fight or flight response, to activate our parasympathetic nervous system, the nervous system that's relaxed, and to literally train our nervous system to be less tense. Some of this stuff is accumulated over a lifetime of just being constantly vigilant over and over, and then it just becomes embedded that our system is chronically in a fight or flight mode. And that cannot just be undone with only thinking positively, things like that. That's obviously going to be helpful to try to have a positive outlook, as we've discussed in this podcast, but to train our nervous system to switch on the parasympathetic, to relax the system. And breathing is extremely helpful for that. So, and again, it doesn't need to be long sessions, like literally 20 seconds, 30 seconds, 10 seconds, a few breaths at a time. As you know, the idea is to return to it frequently. You're sitting on the toilet in the bathroom. It can be a good time to breathe. You're stuck at you're at a red light while you're driving the car. Take a few breaths. There's always an opportunity to breathe and just be with your breath. Have a pause. Have a pause. It is tremendously powerful to support our well-being when we return to our breath over and over again throughout our day-to-day lives. So, one thing to remember is abdominal breathing. Abdominal breathing is very good to start relaxing the body. So sometimes when we tell somebody who's a little tight and anxious, why don't you take a deep breath and relax, like, this sort of big chest in breath. And that's probably not going to be as effective. But to focus on pushing your belly out on the inhalation and letting it gently contract on the exhalation. So you start with the belly and then you can move up into the chest. So you take and then you can just release it nice and slow. And we'll come back to that in a moment. But pushing your belly out on the inhalation, and then you can come up to the chest and then release the breath, and the belly will gently recontract. But push the belly out. Sometimes in modern society, the way we want to appear, when we stand up, we want to kind of tuck in our belly. We don't want the belly pushing out. But if for proper, powerful, conscious breathing, pushing the belly out as, not uncomfortably, but a little bit of forceful pushing, and without being unnatural, but you got to have to kind of direct it a little bit at first when you start building that skill and ability, but you just gently push the belly out on the inhalation. Second thing that's quite important, and so there's just two principles today to review about breathing, is making the exhale slower than the inhale. Just that really begins to calm the nervous system down, to activate the parasympathetic nervous system. So pushing the belly out on the inhale and then exhaling. Nice and slow. There's sometimes some protocols that will say a certain amount of seconds, like 4 seconds, inhale, hold it 2 seconds, exhale 6 seconds, hold it 1 second. Inhale 4 seconds, hold 2 seconds, exhale 6 seconds, hold 1 second. Those are fine. And I think sometimes they can be very helpful to have very kind of strict sort of breathing patterns to try to get into a certain focused state. And certainly many successful practices have existed like that. But everybody has their own style, okay? We're all on this journey together, and we're all kind of figuring out our own unique way of navigating our own lives. And I think breathing is a bit like that. You want to find a way that's comfortable for you. Find a style that feels right for you. So I don't want to be too strict in the recommendation today, but I would say if you can abide by those two principles, that you gently push the belly out on the inhalation, and then on the exhalation, to make the exhalation longer than your inhalation. Because sometimes, again, the deep breath is like, that's not quite it, because see how quickly the exhalation was? It's too fast. Okay, what calms the system down is the slow inhalation, pushing the belly out, and then slow exhalation, longer exhalation and inhalation. Again, different ratios for everybody. Some people might not be as comfortable depending on their lung health or different situations. So if you need to make the breaths a little shorter, that's fine, but just make the exhalation a little bit longer than your inhalation. Push the belly out and just return to your breathing. Feel it. Just feel it fully. Feel your breath. And by doing that, again, 1 or 2 breaths at a time. If you don't want to sit down and do a bunch of breathing, that's fine. But return to the breath. Moments of quiet. We need to reconnect collectively and individually with our truest sense of self, with our true selves. And our true self, as Eckhart Tolle points out, is never more real, never more present than when we are still. And the breath can help us to be still. Thank you, folks. If you enjoy this, please follow, subscribe, pass it around, share it. I hope you have an awesome day. We'll see you next time.